For years, we've been obsessed with capturing new, never-before-seen shots, like putting cameras on bees and arrows and Supermans. And all these shots, though, were inspired by advancing camera technology. Technology that's starting to feel like it's plateauing. It feels like there's no more opportunities to find these new kinds of shots. Or is there? In this video, I'm going to show you how we were able to get a shot that's been surprisingly impossible to achieve until now. All right, well, it's hard work coming up with shots that no one has ever done before. Well, technically, Ren has actually done a shot like this before, so let me rephrase that. It's hard work coming up with shots that nobody except Ren has done before. This video that we're about to watch is gonna be very long and in-depth, and I'm going to show you guys every single detail with this type of project. I invest everything into it until it's released. So if you stick around to the end, it'll be worth it, I promise. All right, so where does this all start? I love tools that allow us to capture and digitize things because as a filmmaker, it makes things faster and easier for us, such as 3D animation. If we can do mocap instead, it makes it faster. 3D modeling, if we can 3D scan an object, it makes it faster. As YouTubers, this is kind of what we founded our career on, how to cut corners using VFX, especially new VFX. So splats came out. There's this thing called Gaussian Splats. They look a lot like NeRFs, which were called neural radiance fields, but the difference is they run in real time, allowing you to tweak them and manipulate them a lot easier. But what do they do though? They allow you to capture a space and use machine learning to recreate it in a very photorealistic way. It takes two images and it's basically predicting what it looks like in between the two of them. And if you venture off the reservation, so to speak, and go outside that array of images that you captured too far, well, the image deteriorates. I love capturing spaces. When we're on a hike, I bring a camera. Sometimes I bring a field recorder for cool ambient sounds, you know, just whatever you can do to capture that space and relive that moment. I find it really fun. But the thing is, you can't quite 3D scan a location. And you think this would be great because, wow, you get a 3D model of that location. How cool. But it's all baked down into this goofy looking mesh. There's like no material properties. Nothing's reflective anymore. Or like even just like leaves. There's too much fine detail for it to like capture all this stuff. And they all get turned into a big garbled mesh. But that's why we're talking about splats today. Splats do capture that. They appear as a photo that's in 3D. It's got all the qualities of a nice picture, except it's a 3D environment. So we were brainstorming, what the heck can we actually do with this? This is months ago, by the way. We're sitting there going like, man, you can, you know, make portals or maybe like some mirror stuff because mirrors look really cool. So I was doing some tests. I was linking some parts in the studio together and I showed that to Niko and he's like, oh, this is cool. But then there was one test that really inspired us. I was actually just trying to replicate the look of just regular handheld, hand-tracked footage when I was playing the scene file and I realized, uh-oh, I didn't align my camera to the space. And suddenly the camera starts rising up higher and higher and higher. And it suddenly appears like, oh, wait, no, we're actually looking at the street from a giant's perspective. And that's when we stumbled onto this idea. What if we made a video from a giant's perspective? Now that might sound simple. Like we've all seen big creatures in movies and stuff like that. It might sound simple, but let me explain to you why it would be so hard to film something like that. Lighting shift. Okay, how would you actually do this? Maybe you could use a drone, sure. So you fly your drone around, right? But hold on, isn't that gonna look like way too smooth? Like, yeah, so maybe you could then also add some like camera shake to it or something, right? That would look kind of close. Even if you were the world's best FPV pilot though, you would still lose all that nuance of like lumbering and walking and be able to like quickly look one direction or like bend over. Like the motion is too complicated for a drone. Or option two, you maybe see your giants maybe a little less tall and you just put your camera on a pole. But then, you know, same issue. You can't go through the full range of motions. Just imagine bending down, you know, it's gonna look weird. So this is probably the point where most people go, okay, let's use CGI because practically filming this is impossible. But personally, I think that would totally ruin the point of this. The purpose of this is to actually see something from somebody's perspective here. So you're gonna wanna make it look as real as possible. 3D might get you there. CGI could look pretty good, but I think it's gonna lose a lot of the realism when you go that route. I mean, what I wanna do here though, is make something that feels like it was actually filmed. So we're just barely scratching the surface here. And before we continue, you're gonna wanna watch this. A small segment from the sponsor of this video, Holzkern. This is probably one of the most embarrassing segments I've ever had to make because, well, the Mario video itself is a video where I'm sitting there waving my wrists around in front of the camera, and frankly, there's nothing nice on them. Holzkern is a watch and jewelry company from Austria that makes stuff for both men and women, and they pride themselves on using all natural materials. We're talking about metal, stone, wood, high-end materials that make a really unique product. Oh. This one in particular is the Open Horizon in blue marble and silver. I think they're trying to make me become a better person. Even if you don't think you're like a watch person, they have so many unique styles that will change your mind, or at the very least, make a great gift for someone else. Already have a fantastic watch? Well, do you have fantastic rings, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, charms? Probably not. They have them too. All Holzkern products are made in very small quantities, which ensures that every single item is extremely high quality. But wait, Austrian watches, isn't that going to take a long time to get here and be super expensive? Actually, they offer free express worldwide shipping, so everything arrives in 2 to 5 business days, and as long as you order before December 19th, any item will arrive before Christmas. So if you're interested, head on over to holzkern.com and use the coupon code CORRIDOR for 15% off your purchases site-wide. Oh, would you look at that? Time to finish the video. So we have this cool technology that allows us to recreate impossible perspectives, but now we still have to figure out our video idea. Let's talk concept. Mario. He's got these mushrooms, right? And they allow him to grow really big. So like, what if Luigi's had too many super mushrooms, so Mario has to chase after him and eat a bunch himself and grow up to his size and stop him? So how are we gonna accomplish this? Well, we wanna find a bunch of locations that look cool from a giant's perspective, right? Very importantly, we also wanna make sure these locations are safe to fly a drone in, because we're gonna have to capture a lot of angles. This is both a POV GoPro video and a drone video at the same time. So we have our idea. Let's go out and actually start making this. Color change. So splats are normally easy to make when you're focused on like one small zone or location, but this is a chase-based video. So these characters have to actually move through these environments in complex ways. And that's gonna require a lot more coverage. But honestly, this was kinda one of the most fun parts of the video. I just packed the drone in a little bag and I'd go walking around downtown or drive out to the mountains. And then I would just imagine I was really big. You know, maybe I see the bridge, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could hop onto that bridge so I get some scans, making sure I can show that kind of motion. It would be cool to run down the LA River and then slide under one of these things because there's some water there. Oh, there's some power lines in a neighborhood. What if this character got tripped up on power lines and got zapped and shrank down? All these ideas kind of just came from either like brainstorming or just kind of like being out there and taking in the location and pretending you're big and thinking, hey, what would big me do? So this is like one of the first shots in the piece here and is a great example. So to get this shot, I need to have a general idea of where the character is gonna walk and move. We get the drone in the air and I fly it along the ideal path of where the character is gonna go. But I can't stop there because, well, I have yet to even apply the performance to this. So I need to account for the unpredictability of what's gonna happen. Also, not to mention, I don't wanna limit myself. I wanna be able to still come up with ideas of where the character is gonna move later or make tweaks to it. So not only do I get the original path of where I wanna go, but now I need to look left, scan that right, scan that, go a little higher, go a little lower, maybe get some extra coverage of the tree. You know, it's a lot of the same techniques you're applying to a 3D scan, but you're still thinking about the filming angle in mind here, because that's what's going to be most important. There's a lot you have to account for and a lot of unpredictable stuff. There's street lamps, power lines, trees, people, this stuff is everywhere. And oftentimes I'm filming over active roadways. So, you know, I need to be careful. So now I've captured these scenes, I've got all these environments and locations, and now I just got to find a way to get these shots to move. We're turning off the lights. This is gonna be easy, right? It's a first person video. All I gotta do now is slap a camera on my head and run around a bit, right? And it's gonna be extra easy because I said, you know what? I'm not gonna use a GoPro because I don't wanna have to track the footage. Instead, I'm just gonna strap a phone to my forehead and use one of those cool apps that does all the camera tracking for you. What am I doing wasting my time 3D tracking shots when this little computer on my face can do it for me? I don't even need a green screen when I put this camera on my head because I can just rotoscope my hands and my feet. It's gonna be easy and fun and enjoyable. And I was right, it was fast, and I finished the video, and it totally sucked. It totally totally sucked. So you know how like when you film on your phone, it's all nice and smooth? Well, yeah, that's because there's like optical and digital stabilization. And when you use these camera tracking apps, well, all that goes straight out the window. From an action cam standpoint, using a phone is really stupid. They're heavy. They're a lot heavier than like a GoPro. And when you're running around with a massive heavy phone on your head, it creates tons of vibration and wobble. So I recorded all these takes and I put them in there with the splats, and oh my God, it was the worst. It was like I had been teleported back to like 2010 before cameras were good. Even like just looking around, the camera will and it's just not fun or enjoyable to look at, and completely ruined the purpose of the video, which is, wow, a cool giant's perspective. You know, it's like instead we just have these gross vibrations and jitters. And yeah, so it was really oof. Oof is the word there, oof. I was like, okay, we're gonna have to reshoot this video. So I put the phone back on my head, knowing it's shaky, and I said, all right, I'm gonna chill things out. I reshot about half the video. I'm being a little more gentle, and I looked at the footage, and it was still shaky. Like literally just calmly looking around, vibrations. Like this has burned me so many times at this point, by the way. Thinking that filming something on a phone is gonna somehow be better or easier in any way. So it was a very difficult week because it's really hard to work on a project for so long and then realize that you've ruined it by cutting corners, thinking you're saving yourself time or energy or something like that, but instead simply multiplying the amount of time and energy you now have to put into something. I'm pretty sure this applies for everything in life. Don't cut corners. If it's too good to be true, it is. Gonna put a GoPro on and reshoot the whole thing. I mean, the GoPro, it's gonna be lighter. The field of view is a little wider too. That's gonna also help. It's gonna help everything ideally. I just have to put on my Mario costume and do everything all over again. This is definitely a moment where I had some pretty deep personal reflections on everything so far. I mean, at this point, this project had been lasting about 4 months. During that time, basically, I had been doing everything myself, going out and filming the drone stuff, doing the performances outside, doing that mostly alone, doing the VFX alone. But yeah, I was starting to get a little lonely on this, and it was kind of getting to my head. Here I am dressed in a Mario costume with a GoPro on, and I'm dancing around in the middle of our street, and everyone's looking at me. Like, he's come out here 3 times this week for hours, just sitting there dancing alone silently with his GoPro on his head. And like, even Hunter Street, it's like, you know, this street we've been filming on here for years and years and years used to be like empty and easy to film on, and then now it's just full of traffic and cars, and there's people blocking stuff. And I'm just like, God, like everything's changed. Like, what's going on? Like, what am I doing here? This is crazy. We always joke to ourselves that by the time we hit 40, no more Master Chief costumes. Like, it was one of those things where you're sitting there thinking that at this point in your life, you feel like you would have moved on to something else. But nope, I had a Mario hat on and a GoPro, and I was making a fool of myself. It's like, have I lost it too? It's like, why am I reshooting this for the 3rd time? Am I out of touch? Do I even know what I'm doing? So it's kind of heavy stuff. Yay, back to reality, normal lighting. I had to get that off of my chest. So, okay, how did I get out of that? Well, with my GoPro on my head, I reminded myself that these videos are our bread and butter. We've made dozens of videos like this before. Every video has had its problems. And if I'm gonna be my true self, running around in the middle of the street with a camera on my head is kind of it. So, you know, I kind of just embraced it. And every single take, I redid it, and they were all better than the first time I captured them too. And hey, maybe let's talk about something fun again. Scale. You're making a video of characters in different scales and sizes. How do you do it? So we do keep track of the character's height throughout the video, but then in doing the performances, realistically, look, we're just going through the splats and just generally memorizing the space and winging it. I am just doing this based off of intuition, and also with the safety of knowing that I can adjust the performance later. I can scoot the camera. I can even tweak where I'm looking, you know, like all sorts of things. Like, there is a lot of flexibility still after I get one of these takes. But that doesn't mean everything was willy-nilly. Actually, the first shot of the piece is worth talking about because that was the one that was kind of difficult and has the most advanced scale tricks happening in it. So first off, I took tape and I put it on the floor and I scaled down the size of our studio relative to how big I would be. So that way, as I did my performance, I wouldn't clip the boundaries of the studio. The second part, which is really cool, is the mirror gag. By having my character look in a mirror at the beginning, establish what I look like, but then as I grow, I can look down and look back into that mirror to really prove how big my character is. And to do this, we put a mirror on the wall during our splat session when we captured it, but then in doing the headcam performance, we set up a tall mirror in place of the small mirror. So that way, when I'm at head level, I'm just doing a performance into a big mirror, and then I pretend to grow, and then I duck back down, and I look back into that same tall mirror. But now in the final shot, what we're just seeing is what appears to be a lower mirror, but when in reality, it was just one mirror. And all we're doing is just cutting out a hole in the footage there. We're basically rotoscoping out the mirror and replacing it with the actual reflection we captured in the studio. And if you really look closely at that reflection, the studio is actually the same size in the reflection. That's a fun little fact. I'm pretty proud of that because I think that was a fun, clever way to mess with people's heads when this video kicks off. Thankfully though, at this point in the video, I'm about to cross the finish line here, and we get to finish this project off with the best part, which is when I get to finally start filming with other people again, and I don't have to lose my mind. Big Mario! Big Mario, yeah! Wow, award-winning. So, tiny people, we got to bring this city to life with tiny little people. How are you gonna do that? I literally just take a phone and film people on our street from our window. The angle basically matches. I even got my little cute kids in there. Cute. It's all cute. It's just cute. Cute. And for the best part, at the very, very end, we got to get Niko up in the video. Old school Sam and Niko style. All right, how are we doing this? Well, Niko's playing Luigi, and Luigi is big in this video. How big, you may ask? 400 feet. Like, why 400 feet? What a weird, oh, that's the maximum altitude for flying drones. It all makes sense. So he's 400 feet tall. To put him in these shots, all we have to do is go, okay, well, he's 400 feet tall. In real life, Niko's, 5'10", 5'11". And so all we got to do now is just scale this down. So in each shot, remember, we know how big my character is. All I do is just figure out that ratio of how big he's supposed to be, and boom, put the GoPro down on the ground, film from that perspective, boom, got our plate. And if you look at these plates of Niko, you'll notice the camera gets higher and higher to match my character's height as he grows throughout the video. So cool, right? Filming this stuff at the end, for the end of the video, was a very big relief. It was so great. It felt like we're filming a normal video again. It felt great to be making a silly video on the roof with my buddies. Enough said. As I'm filming this video right now, the video is not actually even done yet. Like, I still have a lot of work to do on this. Still working on the VFX for it. We still have some sound and music to do. There's all the bells and whistles you need to do to finish a video. But it looks very cool, and I'm very happy with it. At the end of the day, I'm just like blown away that we get the opportunity to make cool stuff like this. It's really fun, and I appreciate that you guys are sticking around to watch it with us. And I mean, if you've gotten this far in the video without watching the other one, well, get your booty over there and watch it. I mean, what are you waiting for? YouTube's got more buttons on this page these days. Click them all and let us know what they do.